In today's video, we're going to take a look at a huge Bitcoin buy signal. This could be the spark that Bitcoin needs for the bull rally, some of the other market news today, and also the trade of the day. Welcome all. Let's take a look at what the market is doing today. And by market, I mean Bitcoin. So as always, we like to have a look at Bitcoin on a multi-time frame analysis, because if you look at it on one time frame, then you can get what's called tunnel vision. And you're seeing a very small cross-section of a very big market. So as always, and as we will always do moving forward, every single day we'll have a look at every single time frame to see what is actually going on a more granular level. And what that being said, my personal favorite time frame, it used to be the 4 hour, now it's the 1 hour. It's probably not my favorite to do general analysis on, which that generally is the 4 hour, but the 1 hour is so good because so many people use it. So generally when you get a indication of more traditional style confluences, divergences, moving averages, there's so many traders using this that it is kind of what technical analysis is all about. You know, you're trying to establish what all the traders are looking at. So for that reason, I use 1 hour a lot now, and that's kind of been a big shift in my personal trading over the past, only 6 months, and it has done me absolute wonders. So first of all, let's take a look at a general analysis of the market. And for this reason, we will also be using the 1 hour and where we're at right now. So here's some nice charts that I prepared earlier on, slash I kind of left overnight. So we did have a big CME gap just here, which got filled so quickly and straight to the top. And that's when we started to see some of our first resistance right here. And you can see these wicks that they are showing signs of resistance. There is a significant increase in volume. We see this initial pump in volume right here. And I'll just show you so you can see it nicely. So this initial pump in volume is significant here because it broke out of this key resistance. And you always need volume in order to break out of resistances because that's generally where a lot of sells will be, or buys if you're going the other way around. So, and then we see an immediate drop off just here, and then it significantly increases again. And by significant, I mean, you look at the average volume kind of thing. Like, so this is where our average volume is around about here, or I'd say the higher average of the volume is around about here. We see some significant breakthroughs and stuff, but then we look at this whole huge bit of volume just here, which is quite a lot, because it's so consistent. But what is notable about this bit here is generally you'll see large spikes in volume and you may not see large candles, but what's happening there is it's showing you a bit of a battle between the bulls and the bears. So this is pretty significant because it basically 2x's the volume. And that is super significant when looking at breakouts, or more specifically in this case, reversals. And this is what I was anticipating right here. So this reversal is coming on some resistance. We're starting to see some divergences pop up. And we actually do have a divergence right here as well. So as you can see, that's coming down whilst the price is going up. And what divergences basically mean is they're really good. They don't confirm a reversal by any means, but they do help you identify a weakening in trend. And as soon as you start to see a weakening trend, then that means that the bears in this case are starting to ramp up their volume, ramp up their sells, and the buyers, they're running out of gas a little bit. So look at it like a tug of war. If you start to run out of gas, then the other side's going to take over, and it's really as simple as that. So this analysis is actually playing out pretty perfectly, to be honest, from when I first drew it. We had this ascending wedge, sorry. And these are, super significant because patterns in general aren't just, rectangles and squares and triangles and lines on a chart. What they're actually kind of built towards and why they've been so popular is they will pretty much identify things like divergences and consolidation. And they just happen to be in very nice, digestible triangles, which I love. So I do a huge amount of my trading from patterns specifically, to be honest, and I've gone through all of the different indicators, all of the really super high-tech stuff, And I generally always fall back on patterns, trend lines, support resistances, candlestick meanings, all this kind of stuff, and obviously volume. And it's done me so well. So, you don't always have to overcomplicate these things, and that is not throwing any shade at any of these high-tech indicators. We do use them a lot, actually. But that being said, like, if you're doing trading, trade, or at least learn to trade in the very traditional sense. So anyway, back to this, and what we had here as well is quite significant. We had a weekly pivot, and weekly pivots, they get filled like so frequently. We had a weekly pivot appear here. Weekly pivots are Monday to Sunday. This is Monday, so we had a new weekly pivot appear right here, and this is where the price was. Okay, we've broken down on this big candle. So I actually took a long here because it's a weekly pivot. I know over historically that these get filled at least touched at some point throughout. So I'll generally set around about 3 TPs here, one at the bottom, one midway, and one at the very top. And then I'll just generally chase up my take profits, moving to break even, super easy. And then it's all about, if you're not like super confident about a trade, not confident, you kind of have to be confident about a trade if you're going to go in on it, otherwise don't go in on it. But what I mean is confident is the general sentiment of the market slightly against you. Obviously, you should always trade with the trend, but you can always argue, what trend are you looking at? Are you looking at a macro trend? Because if you're looking at a ultra macro trend, then the trend is always up. So you should never do a short. But then you can also look at micro trends. I'll be looking at the 1 minute, 2 minute, 5 minute, whatever. And then your trends are up and down all the time. So it depends what you're really trading on. But for this instance, I had good cause to enter this trade, and I did 3 take profits. I have actually closed this now, and we'll talk as to why. One of the interesting things here is this ascending wedge. They have a quite high rate of them breaking down, and as we can literally see as we're talking, BTC has broken down of this ascending wedge. So I do actually expect this to go lower, and we do actually have a BT short open in the premium at the moment. There you go, if you don't believe me. So let's get rid of that. But enough bragging. So BTC is breaking down. My anticipation that we might have gone up a little bit and then come down, but looks like we just couldn't sustain it. Like I said, we have these divergences, these pullback signals, but let's take a look at some different time frames in order what kind of led me towards this analysis as well. On the 5 minute, we had a head and shoulders pattern playing out. Wow, I drew that badly. Head and shoulders pattern playing out, which would usually take you to around about this region. So similar to where it kicked off from. So I was looking at this going how we were looking at, and I didn't see this on the 1 hour, but when we dropped down to the 5 minute, I did. 5 minute unit is very, 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 very fast. So you can't do a huge amount of analysis, but it's great for spotting these patterns with high conviction, like head and shoulders, for instance. There is actually a surprising amount of good news in the market today floating around. Everything from, so Iran passes a law enabling Bitcoin and crypto payments for imports, which is huge, which is great. They've been up and down with where they are with crypto. Indonesia's biggest tech company, GoTo, just bought a Bitcoin exchange. Positive for that region for sure. Qatar grants first digital payments license to iPay. We have to keep an eye on that region. When those guys start getting heavier into crypto, then that's a very good thing. That is a very, very good thing for them to be putting money in for the crypto market in general. So I think that will be falling alongside these things like spot ETF coming into play, Ripple winning the lawsuit against the SEC, Dubai and Qatar, fully going into that side of the world, crypto and everything like that, not just kind of frivolous NFTs, but more applications of buying property and stuff like that, but on a larger scale. So that'd be pretty cool. And what else? So we have an interesting one, which I actually really like the look of, is in the past 7 days, 7,500 BTC has been taken off exchanges. Whilst that's not a tremendously massive number in the world of Bitcoin or crypto for that matter, it is a really, really, really good indicator of where the money's going. And that's cold wallets, storage, and stuff like that, which is we don't want BTC to be traded anymore. We want people to put it away and forget about it and be happy with their buys so we can start to go back up. And finally, as well, the whale addresses controlling 1K to 10K in BTC are starting to accumulate coins on-chain again. Again, this is really good. This is really, really good because that's basically all the whales, the hodlers who have been holding it for a long time are now buying. You know, these are the guys with the big fat wallets, the smart money, if you will. They're buying. So that is good. We have known that for quite some time, and they do constantly buy. They don't just all give each other a call and buy at the same time. No, unfortunately. Well, they might do, but I certainly don't get the call. There is a couple of bearish bits of news as well. Chinese police arrest 200 people linked with one of the country's largest banking scandals ever. I am pretty sure crypto will get dragged into this somehow because it's China and crypto. That being said, I think everybody's kind of at a point now where any news that comes out about crypto in China is somewhat thrown to the wayside. The really big two are done, you know, banned Bitcoin, mining as well. They're done now, so there genuinely isn't much else that they can really do. Then lastly as well, the FBI issues a DeFi crypto vulnerabilities warning. There aren't really any retail traders in the market at the moment, so again, this won't have really any impact. So not too bothered at all. You know, what we're seeing at the moment with this downward movement is, you know, that kind of literal general TA. You know, at the moment, things like the dollar are pumping and the S&P are dumping as well. So there is always that correlation on the wider market that's going on. So that will play an effect at the moment. However, this is on a shorter term scale. So I'm looking at a short-term dump for BTC, which seems to be going pretty well. However, there are some really, really bullish macro factors at play. Which are going to be great, which I'm super positive about. So we're looking at a retrace right now, so it's going to be a bit painful. And, you know, we've been saying at Block Party now for quite some time that that's going to be happening, that we're going to see a short-term pain and long-term gain. Not to try and fit a rhyme in there or anything, but that's literally, I think, what's going to happen. And my target has been 18,800 for quite some time. If you really follow any of the channels or videos or whatever, reason being is like we have two significant supports down there. That's part of it. But the other big part as well is that it's coming to the end of this descending wedge right here, which is super good. And this is on the daily. So we're not looking at these short-term time frames here. We're looking at a lot of conviction, which is awesome. We're also getting a dip buy signal from our wave trend, which is, it's okay. It's a bit early, to be honest. I'd prefer to be seeing that down here. But needless to say, you know, it can still go down a bit further on. We're not basing everything on indicators. But this is looking really positive. However, there is one mega buy signal, which I just think is so good. So good. So this is on the weekly. Weekly does not mess around. You know, this is such high confirmation of general signals. We can look here as well. So here's a good example. When we see things like this, the wave peak buy, that literally called the top. But also, interestingly as well, we've got the reversal, contrarian reversal signal on the Alpha Prime, which called essentially the top of Bitcoin. And this is huge because we've now just got we have a potential reversal contrarian signal. But what is pretty good about this is it's coming all into alignment with a lot of my other analysis with the daily descending wedge. I think it might go down a little bit further. But all within inside this week, I think, to be honest. So yes, that does mean I think we might be able to see 18,800 this week, but also I think we're going to see a huge bounce, which will hopefully confirm this. But even if we go down and then come back up, I still think this is going to be very valid. So 18,800 is down here, my perceived bottom. I am going to semi-call that. I hate doing things like that on Bitcoin, but I am going to provisionally call 18,800. But also what is so cool about this one, look at this trend line. And we are there. We're calling this bottom right here on the trend line on the BTC Block Party Labs growth curve as well, which we'll cover in a different video, is showing the bottom. And we're right there. And this is amazing. So there's a lot of talk about the 200-week moving average, which is the purple line, fuchsia line, I guess. And that is apparently the most significant one to break through. I'm not a huge believer in that, to be honest, but if I kind of have to be, if a lot of people are following it, I kind of have to be. but it is what it is. So I think we've played out this McFly signal quite nicely. If anyone took that, that would have been a nice 12-13%. I did shine quite a big light on that. But that, for me, is like super interesting. You know, we are looking at quite definitively short-term pain, and then on the macro side, long-term gain. It's worthwhile taking a look at some of these other more crypto sentiment-led charts as well. So right here we've got the totals 3, which is basically the alt market excluding BTC and Ethereum. And similarly to the daily on the Ethereum, we do actually have a head and shoulders, which is not that bad, to be honest. Like, this is lining up perfectly with everything, with the short-term gain, short-term pain, long-term gain. We're going to see a little bit further down. So I feel like the downside is going to be coming down to about here. So we're going to see some pain for the alts. But I do think there's going to be a pretty heavy bounce going up there. So, you know, this is an interesting one as well. The USDT dominance. It's a good barometer of all stablecoins, to be quite honest. This is how it's been looking. We anticipated a massive pump out of here. So when USDT dominance pumps, Bitcoin and alts, especially alts, 9 times out of 10 will dump. So we are right at this. It's not the most confirmed trend line, but it's looking like it's about to be. So we've got up here, so I think we're going to actually try and retest this. It's going to go head back up, and I think this is going to get a pretty heavy rejection. There's a huge divergence right here as well, so that could be quite promising. But we'll see, you know, like it seems to be lining up with everything else, and then BTC dominance as well. This is essentially how much Bitcoin is leading the market, and we've been testing this 40% for quite some time. So one of two things, either we're going to break down this and Bitcoin's going to pump, which means it's literally going to be alt season, and that would be the ideal scenario. We break down on this line, Bitcoin pumps, and then the alts will pump as well, because that means that just by default, unless all the money is going into USDT, which I strongly doubt, just by default, this will be massive. But the reality is, what's going to happen is it's probably going to bounce here and head on up, but not aggressively. I think this is just the laws of nature. The money is going to passively go into Bitcoin more than the alts at the moment, given where Bitcoin is in the general scheme of price. You want to be buying Bitcoin at 20K. That's kind of the dream. So for that reason, I do expect Bitcoin dominance to rise first, and then alts will catch up. At that point, when we get to the top of here, alts will catch up and then just absolutely boom. But I do think Bitcoin's going to lead the market from this point. Of course, Ethereum as well. Those two work hand in hand, but Bitcoin just a lot more so. So that's looking pretty good on the grand scheme of things. And then we've just got the CME, where we saw the CME gap earlier on. So Bitcoin, in a nutshell, is looking all right. I think we're going to go down. We are going down as anticipated, and we're going to bounce around about. We could bounce earlier, but I think there could be pain as low down as 18,800. So just be prepared. And then it is a good old ride up to the sky. That's the plan anyway. Anyway, let's take a look at the trade of the day. And the trade of the day is very easy. It is Ethereum, which has already started to go in my direction. And reason being, I wanted to do a short on this one was when I started looking at this, which was around this exhaustion signal. Exhaustion signals are available on the Alpha Prime, which is one of our proprietary indicators. You can see all these squiggly lines in the background. And exhaustion basically is indicating when a trend is coming to the end. And they're really good, they're really, really good. If you can get other confluences with them, like divergences, wave trends, overboughts, TD9s going into and testing significant moving averages like the 200 one, as we have here. And, we are lots of wicks, lots and lots of wicks. And that's always a good thing to say that bears are here to play. And then lastly as well, we're coming into a real significant 1600 psychological resistance. And this is also coupled with the fact that checked with some of the order books as well. And it was just looking like the sells were really there to, really, really hard sells ready to take it out and give everyone a lot of false hope. But what I am actually looking at right now, so this is a bit of live TA, as we can see. We're going up, down, down. So this is what we could potentially be seeing. Now, it's a very speculative play at the moment. I generally don't like to call head and shoulders before we get this confirmation right here. That being said, if we do bounce, I probably wouldn't catch any knives around about here. Wait until you break out back above at least 1,559, and that should invalidate the head and shoulders. But for the most part, this is what I'm looking at. So obviously a bit late to the party, guys, but these are my targets. We've just broken through that resistance there, so this looks like it is going down. I would have one TP around about here, and then another target around about down here, maybe a bit higher. Just always put your take profits a little bit higher than any significant supports or resistances. And you know, I think you would have got a very, very lean had we invented this at the very start, which was around about here. I was looking at a very lean take profit of just above the 20D EMA. Give it some breathing space. We've seen some volatility, and then we would have gone for something of around about it wouldn't have been 3, been about 1.4 risk reward at the first TP, but we can be potentially looking at around about a 3 risk reward on this one, and it's smashing down anyway. So hopefully you guys can get in on it. If we see a bounce and it comes up here in a bit of rejection, you can re-enter around about this right shoulder. But yeah, at the moment, this is what I'm looking at the moment. ETH USDT short is my trade of the day. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want to follow along with our block party portfolio, then you can do that. Just jump on Mizar. It's called Big Wick Energy. They're all nice kind of slow play trades, and I don't like to use the word safe in crypto, but they're DCA, so they give a lot of bandwidth for getting the best results. Of course, give us a like and a subscribe. It always makes us feel good and want to bring you more of this content. Until next time,